device. So as we move our hands closer to the faucet, the sensing device will automatically detect the movement of our hands. So the water would automatically flow from the faucet. So that's how it works. And he was really a young, talented inventor because why? By the time he invented this faucet, he was only, remember he was a vocational school student, so he was only 17 years old. So when I talk about this with my students, I ask how old they were, and they say, we were 15. So we all feel a little embarrassed and also really impressed with Mr. Deng Hongji's invention. And also, after he invented this faucet, he also represented Taiwan at the IENA exhibition. That is an exhibition for international, wonderful, modern inventions, and that takes place in Germany everywhere, every year. And he also won first prizes many times in the IENA exhibition. So practically, we can just, since then, he has been known as the Taiwan's Edison. So I think we can really call him the pride of Taiwan. So that's the first invention I would like to introduce to you. And the next one, before I talk about it, we all know what this is, right? It's the Post-it note. So I think the story behind this invention is also a very interesting one. Okay, Spencer Silver was the inventor's name. Okay, and why would he invent such a wonderful stationary item? You can imagine, before we had the Post-it notes, that's a world that when people all think only strong glue could be very useful. Nobody would think a weak glue could be very useful. So that's also what Spencer Silver was thinking. So he had been trying to create a very strong one. So he conducted a lot of experiments. So he used a lot of chemicals to try to make a very strong glue. But unfortunately, luckily later, unfortunately, he found that he had made a very weak glue. But I think the most interesting part is that he was not disappointed at all. And I think this is also part of the reason why he became successful later, because he was not disappointed with his invention. He began to think about, okay, how can I make this weak glue useful? So he went back to his company and told his co-workers about his new invention, the weak glue. But just like any other story, right? Nobody at first would believe him. Nobody listened to him. They would all think, how can a weak glue be very useful? But one day, something happened and it changed everything. This art fried guy, he was one of the Spencer's co-workers in his company, and he was a very convinced person, a very religious person. So he went to the church very often, and one day, while he was singing hymns during the church service, he was very frustrated. Not because he was really bored, but because his bookmark kept falling out from his hymn book. So he had to pick it up very often. He had to pick it up over and over again. So he was really frustrated because he couldn't concentrate. And then, all of a sudden, he thought of Spencer Silver's useless weak glue. And he thought, okay, maybe I can use this weak glue to glue my bookmark to the hymn book. So after if I really have to remove the bookmark from the book, I wouldn't have to damage the book because it's weak, right? I can just tear it away. So he tried, and it worked like magic. So he was really excited and went back to the company and told everyone. So after that, the Post-it note was invented. It was born, and it was so convenient. So it spread to all over the world before long. Well, and what I'm trying to say is, the point I'm trying to make is that usually you can see these two great inventions, the automatic faucet and the Post-it note, these great inventions all come from just smallest or some basic, simple ideas. So it actually is not too complicated. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe next time we face some problems or we have some difficulties and we try to find a solution to them, maybe if we try a little harder and be a little more creative, we can also be an inventor of some great stuff. Maybe, who knows? Okay, thanks for your attention.